Madly in love just through talking and telling and sharing every single thing, all of our good, our bad, our dirty. We were completely honest because
Van Hunt asked Halle Berry a question most women dream of hearing, and her hesitation shocked even the people closest to her. Because at 58, with wealth, power, and global respect firmly in her hands, Halle Berry no longer sees marriage as a prize, but as a risk she has already survived too many times. To understand why she still won't say yes, you have to look past red carpets and awards and step into a life shaped early by fear, survival, and lessons about love that were written in pain rather than romance. Halle grew up learning that home was not always safe, that love could arrive with bruises, silence, and broken trust, and that kind of knowledge does not fade just because success eventually shows up. As a child, navigating a world that constantly reminded her she was different, she learned to armor herself early, to become strong because softness felt dangerous, and that armor followed her into adulthood even when she desperately wanted to believe in stability. Her rise into public life came fast, but emotional security never kept pace, and as her fame grew, so did the pressure to prove she could build the kind of family she never had, even if it meant overlooking red flags along the way. Her first marriage arrived during the chaos of early stardom, when distance, insecurity, and imbalance quietly eroded trust, and by the time it ended, the damage went far beyond heartbreak. Halle later revealed that the relationship cost her something permanent, her hearing in one ear, a loss that symbolized how deeply love had hurt her physically as well as emotionally. That experience did not just end a marriage, it planted a belief that intimacy could carry danger, even when wrapped in promises. When she tried again years later, hoping maturity and shared ambition would protect her, betrayal arrived instead, amplified by public humiliation that turned private pain into entertainment. The world laughed while she collapsed, and that moment carved something lasting into her sense of self, teaching her that marriage did not shield her, it exposed her. Motherhood brought a different kind of love, but it also came with battles that never truly ended. Custody disputes stretched on for years, draining her emotionally and financially, forcing her into courtrooms where love was measured in paperwork and payments. She became one of the highest-earning women in Hollywood, still writing massive checks to men she no longer shared a life with, a reality that sharpened her independence and her resolve. Those experiences taught her that legal bonds could outlive emotional ones, and that marriage, once broken, rarely releases its grip cleanly. Even when she tried again, believing that love deserved another chance, the weight of unresolved conflict followed her, until that union too dissolved into drawn-out negotiations and obligations that refused to disappear. By the time Van Hunt entered her life, Halle Berry was no longer searching for rescue or validation. She had already rebuilt herself more than once, learned to sit alone without fear, and discovered that peace mattered more than tradition. Their relationship unfolded slowly, quietly, without spectacle, rooted in companionship rather than performance. For the first time, she felt seen without being managed, supported without being controlled, and loved without being consumed. But when the idea of marriage resurfaced, so did every memory her body still carried. Memories of courts, contracts, betrayals, custody schedules, and the invisible cost of surrendering autonomy again. Saying no was not rejection, it was self-preservation. At the same time, Halle was entering a phase of power few people anticipated. While Hollywood continued sidelining women her age, she was quietly building something far more durable than box office numbers. A devastating medical misdiagnosis during menopause shattered her confidence in a way no critic ever could, exposing how deeply women's health is misunderstood, mistreated, and under-researched. Instead of retreating, she turned outrage into action, pouring her own money, influence, and voice into building a health platform designed to give women answers she never received. That pivot changed her relationship with power entirely. She was no longer dependent on studios or roles. She owned her narrative, her body, and her future. Financial independence reshaped her understanding of partnership. Halle Berry no longer needed marriage for stability, legitimacy, or protection. She had built her own systems, her own safety nets, her own sense of worth. What she wanted now was companionship without captivity, love without legal entanglement, intimacy without surrendering control over her life again. Watching younger women repeat patterns she barely survived only reinforced her choice. She spoke openly about how society pressures women to equate marriage with success, while rarely holding men to the same standard of emotional responsibility. For her, refusing marriage was not cynicism, it was wisdom earned the hard way. As she returned to global stages, advocating for women over 50, challenging medical systems, launching businesses, and reclaiming visibility on her own terms, Halle Berry entered what she calls her rebirth. This version of her life is not defined by romance, but by alignment. Van Hunt remains part of that story because he respects her boundaries rather than trying to rewrite them. Their love exists without urgency, without contracts, without fear, and that is precisely why it works. She has learned that truest commitment is not measured by rings or ceremonies, but by consistency, emotional safety, and mutual respect. So when people ask why Halle Berry still won't say yes, the answer is not hidden in hesitation, but in wisdom hard-earned. Marriage once promised her stability and delivered pain. Now she chooses joy without obligation, love without fear, and a future she controls completely. At 58, she is not running from commitment, she is finally committed to herself, and that is the one vow she refuses to break again.